quick. Setting my timer here. I've got a 12 o'clock noon Seattle in time. It is 9:20 here in Seattle. That gives me 2 hours and 40 minutes to have some fun. Let's see if we're up and running already. We'll get through an intro and we'll do some design work today. So looks like looks like it's up and running. Let's check our volume here. Mic check. 1, 2, 3. It's up and running. Mic check. 1, 2, 3. Mic check. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay, that seems good enough. Drop that back down. I'm gonna go through an intro spiel here. It'll probably take like a minute or two. If you are familiar with my channel already, you can skip ahead like a minute or two. But if you're trapped here in space-time with me here and now, or if you are catching this after live stream and you just want to find out what we got going on here, well, my name is Theurgy. I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, I publish them online, and I have been focusing attention on creating content for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, publishing on the DMsGuild. I've been running games in D&D since 1987. I've been a Magic the Gathering enthusiast since around 95. Freelance illustrator since 99, and I started creating content on the DMsGuild in 2017. That's when Wizards of the Coast started making Magic the Gathering content for D&D. The first book that they created, Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. It was disappointing that they didn't have any kind of color mana ideas in the book. Wizards in 3rd edition was famous for every time they came out with a book, they'd have an entirely new system of magic, a different type of resource to manage that magic with, along with unique character races, backgrounds, classes, subclasses, or what we would subclass, or what were prestige classes, feats, spells, magic items, and plot hooks. Like, that's 8 things that they would provide in each, like 126 to 250 whatever page splat book they'd put out for whatever it is that they're doing. So they would dive deep into, like, if you're going to integrate this in the game, here you go. But when that's they also had a ton of books, and it tends to shatter the base of consumers because everyone's kind of taking the game in a different direction, which means they're isolating themselves from the herd, which is, and the Wizards wants to act like, a dog, like a collie herding sheep, to move, not to insult us, but like cattle, whatever you want, elk, to herd us around to make sure that we're moving in the same direction towards whatever product it is that they have. Or if we're all moving as a group, they can identify what new things should they be putting ahead of us because they can see where everyone is moving. But if we're all running in different directions, you can't effectively create a core product to be able to put out because it's not going to satisfy anyone. So they have to take ideas and pull them back to the core so that they're always self-referencing the material that people already own so that they have more emotional buy-in. I understand how this works. I'm going to play it, but it gets kind of milquetoasty. It lacks variety, so it feels stale. Everything's advantage or disadvantage. What am I doing here? So that's so we built a color mana system. It replaces 8 schools of magic and spell slots with a 5-color mana system. It's on the DMsGuild, but let's see. I'm here on the X Twitter platform. If you're here as well, you can catch me at Theurgy. I always post when I'm live. Post the new books that I'm participating in, like the subclasses revivified. I did all the monks the 6 monk subclasses that were missing in 2024's Player's Handbook. I got recruited to make the monks for them in this project where we do all 69 subclasses that weren't in the 2024 book that had existed since 2014 from Wizards of the Coast are now in here, utilizing the mechanics and sensibilities that we now have in 2024, and trying to glam up some of the weaknesses that existed in 2014 stuff as we've evolved and our understanding of how the system works. Good piece. worth your time checking out. If you want to see my work, I had a live stream a few weeks ago. It's called Forsaken Monks. So if you check out if you do a search for me with Forsaken Monks, then you'll see the design work that we did pop up. Hey, Rel, how you doing, my guy? Yeah, so there's Twitter at Phil Kearney, and here on YouTube, like, subscribe. Hey, holy Hannah, we got more subscribers since yesterday. Thank you, guys. I'm really glad the stuff that I'm doing is resonating with people. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications of when we are live in the future. And here's the full playlist of all 169 episodes. That's the funny number. Here's the actual playtest content that we're building here today. The martial power system. It's on my Patreon. Click the martial powers button. Stop and subscribe for $1 if you're interested in supporting my work in the future as well that way. But if you click that open, this is a read-only document that you also have access to right now with all the content that we've been designing for the past 169 episodes of this design stream. And as we continue moving forward in production with it, I'm going to be using this one instead. This is, again, it's the same document. So I'm going to close this one out. And while we're here, just to finish up my self-aggrandization, Pacts and Patrons of Ravnica, Warlock options that we create, we're going to be updating this for 2024. Spell point Warlocks, we're going to be updating this for 2024. And then here's my Discord community. You're welcome to jump in if you're interested in design work or if you want to participate in the playtests we have happening next month. And then my Patreon, my Twitter, and here's a slew of books that I've created. Here's all the Color Mana stuff that I've made. That you can view as free previews, like Spellpoint Warlocks we'll be working on here pretty shortly. So you can click on that and you can see the full document. So this is a pay what you want. People don't have to pay for it, but by God, half of you people that have looked at this book have purchased it. It's currently a gold bestseller, so that's my highest ranking medal on the DMs Guild currently. Thanks, everyone, for helping me get here. I'm really proud of that. This is the doorway for me to be able to do print on demand on DMs Guild. Ironically, once I gained access to that badge, I'm probably going to just put out flagships like this onto the DMs Guild once relevant to the Wizards IP. But beyond that, I'll be moving out into Creative Common community licensing and DTRPG, Kickstarter, stuff like that. I probably have about a year or so of DMs Guild stuff to resolve to be current for 2024, and then I can start extracting from that server and start posting. Like once I have all these 13 classes built out using the same Color Mana system, I could make a Book of Dimir and put that on my Patreon. It would never sell on the DMs Guild because if you get too specific in content, the audience, like I was saying, it splits the herd into individual packs that can't relate to each other anymore. Even if I put out a Book of Dimir and a Book of Boros, it's the same MTG audience inside of the D&D game space that visits the DMs Guild. And even then, once you dive down to MTG fans, now I'm a Ravnica fan, now I'm a Dimir and or Boros fan. That's D&D, DMs Guild, MTG, Ravnica, and then the specific build that I'm working on. That's 5 degrees of depth and interest I have to get from a marketing perspective, which is like 1 in 10,000. It's insanely low. So you have to be careful about diving too deep as something that you're putting out there for other people to invest in. But it wouldn't, I wouldn't have to stress over it too much if I just did little piecemeal things. Like here's a Dimir Rogue, and I can post that on Patreon or whatever. So, but it would all fold back into the stuff we have on DMs Guild. So, I don't know. It's something I'm debating, and we'll eventually, I might be doing something for Bastions, and if I do, I would probably do a very system-light version for the DMs Guild, and then once I extract, then when I kickstart Guilds and Kingdoms, I'd be able to really just blow out and dive in deep about building industries and the difference between society versus your own guild, and really just deep dive off of it and then build on top of it the warfare system that we have. So anyway, what we're doing today is we are working on the artificer. So I wanted to make sure the next thing we were at here, we had already established that as a class feature, they at 11th level, they artificers get the magic storing item, which is a 20th an intelligence 20 artificer. Basically gets 10 uses of a first or a second level spell. And if you want to replace it, you can do so at the beginning of a long rest. You can create a new item. The first or second level spell doesn't have to be a spell that you know or prepared. It has to be on the artificer list, but otherwise it can be one of those items that it's basically an extra prep spell that you get a shit ton of free uses of. So a second level spell, you can use it 10 times first level spell, 10 times like shield, 10 times per day, or like Misty Hop 10 times per day. It's a lot, and so that being 11th level feels fine. It's a magic item specifically, and this is in the core rules of the artificer. So let's go back to classes here on D&D Beyond and fold that up and click open artificer. Get down to spell storing item. At 11th level, yeah. At 11th level, you learn how to store a spell and an object. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can touch one simple or martial weapon or one item that you can use as a spellcasting focus, and you store a spell. Choosing a first or second level spell from the Artificer spell list that requires one action to cast, you needn't have it prepared. While holding the object, a creature can take an action to produce the spell's effect from it. Using your spellcasting ability modifier, if the spell requires concentration, the creature must concentrate. The spell stays on the object until it's been used a number of times equal to twice your intelligence modifier, minimum of twice, or until you use this feature again to store a spell in an object. So you can just basically get 10 free spells per day if your intelligence is 20. That's intense. So that's in our system. That's effectively anywhere from 10 or 20 extra mana that your character gets to spend on this spell specifically per day, and I'm fine with that. So, but that also curves into. Let me extract that as its own window, and we'll slide over here so it's less obnoxious there. So the variant infusions we have, in addition to the list of infusions provided in Tasha's, artificers can learn to infuse powers into the items they create as detailed further below. In addition, we already have in addition to the list. So furthermore, all artificers gain the mana crystal infusion without counting against the. You know, I could probably word that differently. Let's just go with mana crystal. Level 2 mana crystal. We'll just do like they did at a level of variant magic storing item. Mana crystal. There you go. You learn. Okay, hold on. Variant infusions. There. Okay, that's actually its own thing. And then we have, because we had to add the language that you can use infusions to create powers. In addition to the list of infusions provided in Tasha's, artificers can learn to infuse. You know what? I don't need this here. Yeah, my gut was right. My gut was right. I do not need this here. So I can take this. Level 2, new mana crystals. Hey, what's up? I've been using an asteroid, the Eberron asteroid belt campaign setting, but I like space. I like wild space or like ether. I like the etherverse, I guess. I have thoughts towards a Magitech etherverse that's like somewhere between Gundam and Spelljammer. A lot of the stuff that I like to design for here is stuff that is kind of like my ideal world setting. So it'd be like a design space between, I guess between Spelljammer, Gundam, and Lancer RPG, like somewhere inside of that space where mecha and like magical machinery that flies through a breathable air environment that's within a contained space. So, but with the opportunity to curve it into D&D or other game spaces with Astral Sea and stuff like that, I'd be fine with that. I think I want to go with animals, like anthropomorphic animals as different factions instead of being humans. Though I guess the apes would eventually evolve into humans. So we're technically apes, sapiens. That's what we would call them, the sapiens, and like the cat folk, the sapiens, the dog people, the bird people, the lizard snake people, the insect. Like each kingdom or each type of, what is that? Animal kingdoms, yeah. Each different animal kingdom would like be its own kingdom. So and then mammals being so prolific would be divided into their own sub-kingdoms, kind of like Corvair on Eberron is a bunch of human nations broken into subcategories of human nations, while like Sarlona it's all dreamers, or Arganessen is like all dragons, Arenella is all elves, Zendrik used to be all giants. So it would, like, the continents would separate which was the dominating species, and then in Corvair there were multiple human kingdoms that opposed each other. So like with mammals, like cats, dogs, ferrets, and then you can go dive into deeper like raptor birds versus glucose, like hummingbirds, for instance, or like glucose type birds. So you can have different attitudes inside the avian kingdom from there. But it's all just flavor text. The way that's like really deep flavor text. The way that I generally like to, the way that I'm currently running campaigns, like you only have like 3 backgrounds, right? You're either adept with interacting. You're either adept with creatures, you're adept with objects, or you're adept with environments, persons, places, and things. So that would mean that would be like basically 3 subclasses. So I might have to limit my palette in that sense and rethink that. But that's just off the cuff. That's just an idea I've fiddled with before. But I probably won't be able to answer good questions like that because during design stream I have to think about the text that's going on, and I'll be able to yammer about it and then go into tangents and geeking out. But talking about something outside of the design document is it scatters my direction. So I generally like to hold conversations about my plans and like ideas and philosophies and stuff when I'm doing artwork. And I typically do artwork Monday through Fridays in the mornings, though I will eventually be doing some in evening streams again as well. Not to snub you, Rel. It's just I have 2 gears. I've got the art gear where my brain turns off and I can talk about anything that I want while my hands do the work. And design work is all mental activity. So it requires me to actually think about what we're doing. So as I talk about stuff, I stop designing. When I start designing again, I stop talking about whatever our conversation is. It's a pickle. I need a virtual Phil to be able to just do this stuff while I can talk to you guys, or be able to switch between the two. So we have the magical storing device. I'm fine with that being as it is. And the mana crystals, you gain the mana crystal infusion without counting against the total number of infusions known. See mana crystals below. Mana crystals in the infusions section below. Artificer subclasses, blah blah. Storing device. Hey, timely timer. What's up? Yeah, right on, man. You ask such great questions, and I love answering them. But I gotta know what gear I am if I'm gonna be productive. And honestly, the only time I really get to work on this currently is when I am streaming, because when I'm off stream, I'm working on Eberron, and I'm doing Eberron in the morning. So I really value the Tuesday, Friday lunches and the Monday, Thursday nights and my Saturday morning brunch streams, so that I can. I'm really passionate about the spell point stuff. I absolutely love it. So, but it's not my primary project right now. So these are the only times I get to work on them. But when the Eberron book finishes, Mana Systems becomes my primary project, and then probably Bastions will become my secondary project. So I'm really motivated to get this one done. I'm waiting to see what in November what the Bastion system actually looks like before I decide what's the best way for me to be able to move ahead in providing the ability check guild system that I have as an alternate Bastion system inside of the DMsGuild, while not eliminating my options in being able to self-publish similar ideas. I just need to be able to word it differently and have a different frame of presentation. So if I limit the DMsGuild stuff to just Bastions, then I'll be good to go. And then I can export that to Kickstarter to be like in Command of Guilds and Kingdoms as a completely separate system of scaling responsibility. Sorry, back into it. I'm going to stop being hypocritical now and get to work. Improve Defender, new infusions. Here's a bunch of new infusions. In addition to the list of infusions provided in... that's a better way of saying it. In addition to the list of infusions provided in Tasha's, artificers can learn to infuse powers into the items they create, as detailed further below. In addition to the list of infusions provided in Tasha's, additional infusions. I don't need to work on that. This is fine for now. Okay, so we have infusion mana crystals. Having those up front and first is a good idea because level 2 above. Mana crystals, infuse item prerequisite, level 2. Level 2. The act of creating a mana crystal draws ambient. You can draw ambient magic from the environment condensed into a small crystal. The crystal contains a number of mana equal to 1 plus the max spell level you can prepare as an artificer. An attuned creature can use the mana contained in the crystal as part of a magic action that expends mana to use or to regain spent mana in their mana pool as a bonus action up to their maximum total. An attuned creature can use the mana. I don't want to have to attune it as an action. A creature can use the mana contained in the crystal as part. Oh, as part of a magic action. Okay, as part. No, wait. I was right. Hold on. As an action, a creature can use the mana contained in the crystal to restore. Creature can expend mana in the crystal to restore the same amount of mana in your pool. As an action, a creature can expend mana in the crystal all or a portion of mana in the crystal to restore the same amount of mana in your pool as part of as a magic action. Period. Now we can pull that away. Keep this nice and simple. It's very basic and simple for somebody that you're giving this to. You can draw. Now let's go up to the mana crystal. Here, and it's fancy for the artificer. You can restore mana in your mana pool without using an action if you can restore mana into your to your mana pool. You can restore mana to your mana pool as a bonus action, not for free. To your mana pool as a bonus action. You can use when you hold a mana crystal and a magic item that requires mana, you can use the mana in the crystal. You can expend the mana. You can expend the mana in the crystal instead of your mana pool, period. So there's like I was talking about before, the spell stones and various magic items allow you to expend mana. They basically become like staffs. Like staffs are like, these spells are held inside of the staff. You can cast them. The way that we do it is very 3rd edition psionics. Psionics had a psionic what was it? I forget the name of them, but basically it was just like this. You would take a psionic power, you'd put it in the crystal, and then it basically became just a battery of extra prepared spells for you. That all you gotta do is grab the stone and then spend some mana, and the thing pops. So a DM can scatter a world with all of these spell stones, and they just basically become something that you could research them, so you could add them to your spell selection and then potentially sell them off. That would probably destroy them. Like doing that should probably destroy the item and absorbing the essence into your own knowledge. But you would also like a wizard. But you would also just be able to hold on to them and just have like a clip, like a bandolera of all of these different spell stones. When you pull one out, you can cast that spell, pull it away, pull up the next one, cast that one, pull it away, pull up the next one, and martial characters can benefit from that. If you add in a spell like a stone user, it could be like a ritual casting feat. Ritual caster feat is regardless of what your class is, you can cast rituals. So if a spell has a ritual tag, you can cast it. And so this side of it as a I guess stone wielder or stone channeler. I don't know what the word on it yet is, but it would basically be if you take this feat, like if you're say you're a fighter, and you take this feat and then you find a spell stone with a cleric spell in it, then you'd be able to use your fighter's mana supply to cast that cleric stone. So you can take away the need for a spellcaster to be your spellcaster by littering the world with these spell stones that provide mana for people to use. So you don't need a cleric in your party if all you need is a healer, because all you gotta do is just give the team a couple healing stones. Like, hey, throw me the healing stone, you catch it, you pop yourself some mana and toss it back to your stower. You could have minions that they're just basically kits of spellstones. Like they keep the horses, they carry the spare stealth stones, so you don't lose them in a dungeon, for instance. So there's a lot of ways you can manipulate the game space. You don't need wizards, you don't need clerics. You could keep, say, druids and sorcerers and warlocks if you wanted, and not use wizards, because anyone with a collection of baubles basically becomes a wizard, right? And the wizard might have deep knowledge and stuff, but when anyone can collect knowledge in the form of little glass shards, then how important is it that I spend time in a sorcerer's tower, right? Well, to get those spells into the crystal, you'd have to have access to spells from that list. So if you don't have wizards creating, like wizards become like sages, they become academians that are creating magical code that the rest of the world can propagate in these spell stones. So you got a spell stone, and you got a mana crystal, and an artificer can hold them together and can use the mana crystal to pay for the casting of the spell. So you can hold one in each hand. Here's my my lightning wand, and here's my shield spell. So anyway, that's the idea. So new mana crystals, you gain the mana crystal infusions without counting against the total number of infusions known. You can restore mana. You can create a number of mana crystals equal to your max, equal to the maximum spell level you've gained as an artificer, period. You can restore mana to your mana pool as a bonus action. You should be here, like that. And then you can create a number of mana crystals equal to the maximum spell level you've gained as an artificer, without counting against your maximum number of infused items. Yeah, okay, so at level 1 you can create one of these for free. But you can also still learn them as an infusion down below. You can create a number of mana crystals equal to the maximum spell level you've gained as an artificer, comma, and you can choose to create more and you can choose to create additional crystals counting towards that count towards your maximum number of infused items. There you go. There, you get one for free, and by level 17 you get 5 for free each day. And they're each worth whatever your max. Here, now that we have that codified, let's go back down and look at the actual crystal. This is working out, man. I'm liking this stuff. It's I like Warlocks because they have the pact magic and the arcanum, and they have the invocations, while artificers have the spells and infusions. And to me, infusions and invocations are basically the same thing, right? They're coded differently, but they're essentially use this resource, do a thing. And I like that game design space for 5e. I don't necessarily like how it's divided up and parsed by wizards, but that's what homebrew is for. You can mod. That's just an engine. That's just a component in the engine. You can swap that out for something custom, which is what we're doing. So new infusions. Let's just drop this down to the other Infuse item, mana crystals. Mana condensed into a small crystal. You can draw ambient magic from the environment condensed into a small crystal. The crystal contains a number of mana equal to 1 plus the max spell level you can prepare as an artificer. As a magic action, a creature can expend all or a portion of mana in the crystal to restore the same amount of mana in your pool. There you go. And then we have the caveat that we can do it instead of as a magic action, we can do it as a bonus action, and we can do it for free if we're using it to power another item. Infuse items. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to remove that and that. I don't think I need this stuff to be here. I keep looking at it like this keeps sticking in my craw. Your artificer level determines the maximum rank of power or level of spell you can infuse. Replicating. Infuse item. Let's instead call it, like we have been, Power Stone. You can infuse you can draw you can encode a spell you can encode 1 power listed above. You can encode 1 power listed above in chapter 2. You can encode 1 power listed above in chapter 2. List of powers, or an artificer spell. You can encode 1 power listed above in chapter 2, list of powers, or an artificer spell into my brain is choking. Give me a second. Small crystal. Prerequisite. Level 2. You can draw ambient magic from the environment condensed into a small crystal. The crystal is encoded with 1 power from chapter 2, that's the powers above. Or an artificer spell. You do not have to have the power or spell prepared, but the level of your artificer level determines the maximum level rank of power or level of spell you can encode this way. Artificer level max encoded. Max rank encoded. There we go. Each item, let's be picky. There. Each item can hold one infused power or spell, which you can select from the list of powers above. These infused items. These power stones require the user to provide the mana and to maintain concentration. If it's a spell that requires it, period. Very simple. This feels good. So you can create power stones for free. You can prep powers to put into stones, so you can create mana and you can add additional prepared powers or spell or artificer spells in these stones, so that you can, so that you can increase your battery and increase your repertoire. So there you go. Now let's go down to Trap Springer Kit. When attuned, creature, item, an equipped mechanism. That item, a tiny size item. Trap. Trap kit. Trap. Hey, what's up? Well, hey man, how you doing? Yeah, we're doing. Welcome to the mix, buddy. Yeah, we're doing design stuff. We're working on infusions. I'm trying to figure out the wording here. So the way that. Okay, so. Do I want to make a new item, like a new tool that's like a trap springer kit, where it has all the tools and stuff that you need to like make little pressure traps, like little trap clip effects, or like bear trap stuff, string wire traps. So like if you break the string, it makes the thing happen. I'm thinking that makes sense. Yeah, new item. I think that has to be done. New tool. Trap Springer. Trap Springer kit. No, we'll go with Spring Trap kit. Let's go to the equipment section of the new Player's Handbook. Let's go to sources, PHB 2024. What's up? Hey, that would be cool. But don't we already have the hunting trap that acts as a bear trap? No. Oh, do we? This is so the reason we're doing this is because of what the infusion is. So give me a second here, just to see the full story. As an action, you can cast a spell that doesn't maintain concentration into the kit, creating a tiny-sized magical object, AC blah blah blah, with the imbued spell. You can create up to 1 trap per round using the kit, and you can have a number of active traps at once equal to your max spell level gained as an artificer, up to 5 at 17th. Traps are considered sustained powers that require concentration, DC 10, plus the number of traps active, and count against the total spell levels you can maintain. As a bonus action, you can throw the trap to an unoccupied 5-foot space on a surface that can support its weight within 20 feet of you as a bonus action. Whenever a creature enters the space of a trap, whether willingly or as part of forced movement, it triggers, targeting the creature occupying the space with the effect of the spell if it's a single target. Spells that have an area of effect originate from the space occupied by the trap, aimed in the direction from which the creature entered the space. A triggered trap is consumed as part of the spell effect. Dismissing 1 or more traps is a free action during your turn or requires a reaction. If you lose concentration, all traps are dismissed without effect, and the imbued spell effects are wasted. When a trap is triggered or dismissed, it reduces your concentration DC by 1 each. So yeah, basically the trap spring, this item basically allows you to make a trap out of any spell that you know that pops when someone walks into that space. Whenever a creature enters the space of a trap, or as we're just going to do it that way. So they have to move into the space. And then you can use the telekinesis feat to move the trap into their space. Whenever a creature enters, when a creature begins its turn or enters the space occupied when a creature begins its turn or enters the space, begins its turn or enters the space. So this way you'd be able to actually throw a trap at the space that a creature is occupying, and then when it becomes their turn, it triggers. So that's a delayed effect, but it only takes, so it's a bonus action to throw it. It's an action to infuse it, but you can infuse it beforehand. Hold on. Yeah, you get it. Yeah, it's fucking insane. I mean, you can basically throw them like grenades within 20 feet, obviously. So wherever they land, there it pops. If you're, actually in one of our playtests, we had an Aarakocra artificer that took traps, and you just fly over the battlefield and just drop them and litter the field with them. As a result of that, we really need to specify that it lands within a location within 20 feet of you. So you have to actually, instead of being like 500 feet up and they're just dropping them to locations, you have to be within 20 feet to be precise about where it's going to land. But during your turn, you can drop and litter them behind you as you go. So you're moving, you can use your bonus action to throw down a trap. there's a power up ahead, further up above, that when you're using a tool for 1 point of mana, instead of as a bonus action, you can use it as an object interaction, so it doesn't actually eat your action economy. So you'd be able, if you're using these things as caltrops, you'd be able to pop a point of mana while you're running, and with your bonus action, you can throw down a trap, and then as an item interaction, for the cost of 1 mana, you can throw it down as you can throw down a second trap. So you can do 2 per round if you want, if you're willing to spend mana to do it. So really, really fun ways to do stuff. I love the exploit action economy in this game because it lets you play, like, you can spend mana to get action economy, and you can sacrifice action economy to get mana during combat. So anytime, or while in initiative. So anytime the DM, like if the DM has a mana intensive trap or hazard sequence, then you can put the characters into initiative while they deal with the trap, so they can burn their action economy to generate free mana to like boost their ability checks, or to throw down defenses, or like make themselves resistant to something, or whatever they need to do, so that they can chunk through a bunch of mana during a trap challenge without actually eating their mana supply in the process. So the way that the DM can do this is, if you detect the trap, you can then drop into initiative, so that your team has resources to be able to resolve it. If you don't see the trap, you'll have initiative with it, and then if your team wins initiative, you can then start responding to the trap. But you have to the first round. If it's an instant effect trap and your team doesn't detect it, then there is no initiative. And if you want to like use a reaction or an exploit to boost your responses to what that trap does to you, that's not free. But if you know it's coming and your team wants to work together to overcome it, then you can drop into initiative to gain free mana to do so. So anyway, there's a lot of really fun ways you can manipulate action economy, mana resources, and the narrative scope of your play to shift different gears. I talk about this a lot. The social tier of game technically doesn't require any die rolling at all. Exploration, whether it's an interrogation, climbing a cliff, searching a room, or trying to decipher a code, those are all just ability checks on a turn-by-turn basis. And then combat is when you dive into deep action economy, where you're really parsing out, like an ability check could cover 1 round of activity, or a whole day of activity, or even a year of activity if you're doing a crafting check for a magic item. So it gets rid of time. And social gets rid of both time and resolution mechanics. So you go from pure narrative decision-making space of what makes sense into, I'm just going to use an ability check regardless of what it is for however long it takes, and you can break that task into multiple ability checks, like in the Theurgy system that I built for ability check rituals. It's basically, the longer the ritual takes to complete, the more often you have to make ability checks, and the higher they get, because it's a more powerful spell. So it's more likely to go wrong, fizzle, or create some sort of an abomination, or a spell plague of some sort that then becomes an adventure hook that your characters have to try to figure out how to solve it. So fun ideas there. That's actually, you can see Theurgy ability check casting here on the DMsGuild. Here in the description down below, I have some of the books I've published. I love this book cover. But again, the whole book is available here. So basically, it defines a system of, you have to create a magic circle to cast a spell inside of, and depending on the level of the spell, it determines the area that you need, the time it takes to cast it, and the cost of the materials to do so, and the number of checks that you need to make, and the difficulty of those checks. And I want to adjust all this because we've been spending a lot of time in the ability check role-playing game that I've been developing with my home table that I'll be playtesting probably in February next year. This is basically the frame of reference that we built around our ability check system. So I want to clean this up because we've refined this model a lot. But it shows, you just make multiple checks over the course of it, and if you can succeed the checks, you can cast the spell even if you're not a spellcaster. Kind of as though if you had the ritual casting feat, but with additional steps for any spell. Like I could cast Wish if I wanted. If I can hit a 32 DC 7 times, good luck with that. But there's means in here to have cooperative magic where you can boost your your ability check to succeed, but you have to have more people involved. And if something goes wrong, it affects everyone. So it can get really nasty really quick. And if it does go wrong, we have mishaps, which are basically like a type of like a wild surge, sorcery wild surge sort of thing that happens depending on what school or color of magic it is that you're using. So here's your mishap tables, and it shows a kind of DC for overcoming the challenge, or the CR of the creature that's created as a result of it, the kind of damage it can do, depending on the level of spell that got fucked up. So, and then we have specific mishaps, and we have a color definition here, breaking down the colors by schools. And then we have abjuration mishaps, like these are different things that can happen based on the level of the spell, just random things. And then here's the specific, here's specific mishaps. Sorry, this is each school. And then we get through the schools. We get down to specific spell mishaps. It's like you can have like arcane lock if that goes wrong. The door is now covered in gold fleck because it took gold leaf for you, gold dust, to be able to cast the spell. And if it goes wrong, the door is covered in gold, and it no longer sits in the frame properly, so it can't close or lock. The door frame must be replaced. So if you fuck up the spell, it either stays permanently shut and you have to bash it open, or it stays permanently open. Either way, the door won't work again until you completely replace it. So like, it's just like fun little things. That's another one. We only have a few examples, but necromancy, speak with dead. You summon a random nearby spirit into the corpse instead of its original animating spirit. Depending on the nearby spirits, this might be friendly, hostile, a trickster, neutral, or whatever else the DM thinks the nearby spirits might offer. This mishap still counts as targeting the corpse with Speak with Dead, and subsequent castings on the same course within 10 days fail as normal. There you go. Clone, that's a good one. Mishap. The clone appears to be created successfully, but it's endowed with a hatred of the Theurgist, or the person that cast the spell, desiring above all to destroy them. The clone is otherwise normal, possessing all of the abilities, memories, and personality of the Theurgist, except as described previously. So, clone works, but it wants to kill you. So once you begin the cloning process, it's either going to be good or it's going to be bad. That's great. Anyway, this is out there for guys to check out. But that's an example of how you can expand the action economy, quote unquote, action economy or resolution mechanics of an ability check. In this instance, in casting a spell. So I plan on checking out your stuff at some point, but I need to find some players that are willing to learn it. Well, if you want to play in the playtesting that we'll do in November, you just got to join my Discord channel, which is here. And if we have more people wanting to play, then I have seats available. People that are members of my Patreon for $1 get first rights. So no pressure, but if you're interested, we are looking for players. So we'll be doing a it was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday morning. My Eberron stream yesterday morning. We were talking about the Blind Eternities as a mega dungeon, and how that was going to be structured, and how we do experience points and treasure. So if that's interesting to you, go check that out. And there you go. Let's see. So trap spring kit. So we want to have new. That's right. I wanted to look at trap springs. I want to look at kits. It means I want to look at equipment, weapons, armor, tools. Tool helps you, blah, blah, blah. Tool proficiencies, artisan tools, alchemist supplies. Trap spring kit. 50 GP. 30 GP. Ability. Utilize. Craft. Intelligence. Create a tiny size trap. How do I want to word it? I don't want to make it too wordy. I also have to make it mundane. So, utilize. Create a small trap that deals 1d4 piercing or BPS damage, your choice, when a or creates a loud noise that can be heard up to 120 feet away when a creature enters the space occupied by the trap. DC 15. Is that right? Craft is... Oh, what can we craft with it? Oh, utilize. This should actually be craft, not utilized. Is there a DC that... Nope. I see what you're saying. Hold on. What was it that you had referenced? Isn't there already hunting traps? Let's see. Are there hunting traps? Because this could just let us build a hunting trap. Wouldn't that be simple? And then the artificer can do cool shit with it beyond that. Hunter's trap. My God. Maybe it's under gear. Hunting trap. Oh my God. You're a fucking genius. Okay, let's push this to 50. Hunting trap. Fucking great. Is there any other cool shit that we could potentially make with this thing? That was great, by the way. Well done. Crowbar. I really do like how 2024 is organizing stuff. It's much better. This is something that's been brought up a lot that I've heard, but this 2024 is much easier and better to design for. Like as a couture designer, as a home brewer, I really like how 2024 is built. I like how much they've parsed out actions. I like how specific they're being about task usage. That's fun because that's space that can be manipulated, and you can do things like to blow them out, or like I was talking about, manipulating action economy to do different things. And because they've parsed it so much, everything's a little bit more just codified, just that little extra touch that makes it easy to be able to replicate different aspects of the game. Like all these things being codified means that you have a way to properly engage language, and that people will just automatically grok what you're doing because of the way that you're framing it. So well done, man. Have you ever seen some of the content that someone makes on Reddit They made many of the MTG settings, such as Phyrexia, are you talking about Core Artificer? Let's see. Well, you said someone that makes on Reddit. Oh, got it. Core Artificer is one of the real leading people that does that stuff. I think there's one other person, but I'm not sure who they are. But Core Artificer, KOR Artificer, he's I've worked with him on projects on the DMsGuild before, and he's a cool guy, and they do cool stuff. So yeah, I've seen a lot of that stuff. And then there's the plane shift documents that are on DMsGuild, which is what I want to say James Wyatt created to help express different MTG planes. But yeah, I've seen some of that stuff. None of it's using the color mana system, because that's my thing. They're kind of folding back into the player's handbook core mechanics, like how do you express all this stuff narratively using the game engine inside of PHB. While my work is let's change the engine so that you can do all these different things with it. And then you'd be able to take basically any of those documents, and just by looking at it a little bit, you can just see how everything just kind of parses into place. It'd be really cool if they'd buy into this stuff, but it's not this isn't their creation, so I don't blame them for using it. But I highly recommend using mana systems. It's just great. You already know this stuff. Yeah. But I generally like that stuff. The narrative of it feels pretty good. Carpenter. Okay, so I'm fine with. Oh yeah, we were looking at items, stuff. Let's see what stuff we can make. Backpack, ball bearings, barrel, basket, bedroll, blanket, block and tackle. One of my playtesters in the Eberron adventure bought block and tackle was a Luxodon, and so had the oversized build or whatever, powerful build. Had powerful build and bought a block and tackle, and ended up winching a portcullis open by basically hooking a chain to the top of the frame and pulling it through the gear mechanism. Block and tackle is a really, really cool item for characters to have. Oh god, what do they do with it? A block contains fiction. A book... there. A block and tackle allows you to hoist up to 4 times the weight you can normally lift. So a powerful build, it'd be 8 times the amount that you can normally lift. And the Luxodon had like a 20 strength, so it was like 4,000, like 2 tons, could lift 2 tons. So the portcullis wasn't that significant of a problem. It's really fun. But that's mechanically more complicated than what I would want. Oh, caltrops. Oh, that's what I was doing. I was looking to see if they capitalize these things. Yes, they do. So I think caltrops is reasonable to be able to make with this stuff. Crowbar, because it's just like you could have a mechanical crowbar, like Jaws of Life. That's kind of what I'm envisioning there. These other things just aren't appropriate. Like a crowbar is just Jaws of Life. That makes sense. Packs, no. Flask, no. Grappling hook, not really. Caltrops makes sense because they're sharp barbs, and that's kind of what your traps are built around, or they can be built around. Yeah, let's say manacles. What's the cost of manacles? That's what I should be looking at. I should be looking at what's the cost of. That's a great question. What's the cost of the things that they can build compared to the cost of the tools to do it? That's a great question. Block and tackle, that was me. Oh wait, reopen that. Wait, I need that. Perfume is 5 gold out of 50. 1 silver piece out of 50. 2 silver pieces out of 50. 25 gold out of 50. 50 out of 50. 25 out of 50. And let's just grab another random one. Yeah. Ink. No, carpentry tools. This has got a lot of stuff. 4 gold pieces, and the carpenter kit itself is 8 gold pieces. Huh. Okay, so I think 50 gold pieces for the trap springer kit is totally reasonable. Caltrops, crowbar, hunting trap, manacles. Anything else that's grabbing my eye? Two gold pieces, okay. Mirror, net, oil, paper, parchment, perfume, poison. No. Pouch, priest, quiver, ram, rations, robe, sack, scholar. Signal, whistle. Nah. String. You can tie a knot in it as a utilize action. Sure, string. Now you can't craft string with it, it would have string. New trap springer kit. Tools. Okay, great. Yeah, so I'm content with that. There. Okay, item. Hunter's Trap. Perfect. God, thank you so much. That was perfect. As an action, you can cast a spell that doesn't maintain concentration into the kit. As an action, you can cast a spell that doesn't maintain concentration into the kit, into the trap. You can, and as an action, you can infuse a spell that doesn't maintain concentration into the kit. That doesn't require concentration into the kit, creating a tiny sized magical object that is imbued with the spell. You can create up to 1 trap per round using the kit, and you can have as an action using you can as a utilize action, you can infuse a spell when you can take, there you go, you can take the utilize action with a spring trap kit. Is that what we called it? A spring trap kit. You can take the utilize action with a spring trap kit to infuse, to empower, infuse. To infuse a spell that doesn't require concentration into the trap. You can create up to 1 trap per round. You can infuse up to 1 trap per round using the kit. No. We already described how fast you can infuse because of the utilize action. If you can find a way to cheat the utilize action economy, go for it. You can have a number of active traps at once. Let's call it spell traps. You can take the utilize action with a spring trap kit, see below, to infuse a spell that doesn't require concentration into the trap. You can have a number of active traps at once equal to your max spell level gained as an artificer. Traps are considered sustained powers. Spells infusing what's the word? Infusing traps. Infusing spells. Each infused spell is considered a sustained power. When infused this way. Each spell is considered a first rank power, a first rank sustained power when infused this way. Normally, in this, for those that don't know, in the spell point mana system that we have, here I'll go reference the document real quick. And then let's go down to, I don't know. Let's look at Knights and Tricksters for a change. Go to here and go down to Knights and Tricksters. And then this is for specific options for Arcane Tricksters and Eldritch Knights using the old system. My God, am I really up to 8 ratings with 4.9? Jesus. This thing's crushing. That's awesome. Thank you. So, okay, so the way that concentration works with this is the old way that we divided up colors. Only one color per spell. Each spell only had one color. The revised list that we have has spells potentially devoted to multiple colors, so you have more variety in how you make your mana pool work, make it easier on you. But spell points, casting spells, there we go. Combined concentration. So, for example, a 15th level knight or trickster has a max spell level of 3, which means that you can maintain concentration for fly, which is a 3rd level spell, or detect thoughts and expedient retreat, which is a 2nd level and a 1st level spell, reflectively, total of 3 levels, or 3 castings of a 1st level spell. And if you're casting cantrips, you can cast multiple cantrips and maintain concentration on them, but they're each considered a 1st level spell. So you can stack up to your max spell level is the number of levels of spell you can maintain concentration on at the same time. But the DC to maintain concentration ratchets up with it. 10 plus the total rank, the total levels of spell maintained. So, and then that's not only like your Constitution saving throw when you take damage, but it's also any time you make a saving throw at all. If you have to make a dexterity saving throw against a fireball, and you're currently sporting a DC 13 because you're maintaining concentration on 3 levels worth of spells, regardless of what they are, then if you don't, even if you save against the fireball, if you rolled below a 13, you still lose all of your spells. So that's the game that you have to play. And then on top of that, there's attrition. Attrition isn't covered in here. There's in the core mechanics, there's a rule about attrition, which is like if you're going to maintain concentration for like hours, then having a system of having the weather, environment, conditions, cause reason for characters to make periodic saving throws, basically just to shit test your casters, so they don't get away with having just like spent 3 points of mana. Now I can breathe water all day, and we can run around at the bottom of the ocean. It only costs us 3 mana for the entire day, for example. You could instead shit test them occasionally. Hey, you get caught up on a quarrel and you kind of freak out a little bit. Give me a Constitution saving throw, and then if you pass it, it's just a shit test saving throw. So if you fail your concentration, oops, no more air. Everyone's drowning now. So like that's a way that you can mitigate that, and depending on the severity of the condition, increases the frequency of saving throws all the way down to you have to make a saving throw every round. Like if you're in a hurricane, right? Every round you have to make a saving throw to maintain concentration. Otherwise, it's literally blasted out of your mind. So those are so given that like a 3rd level spell would count towards 3 levels of concentration, like haste, for instance. So, but what this is doing is allowing us to treat each spell, regardless of its level, as a single instance of a spell cast while you're maintaining concentration inside that trap. So because these aren't concentration spells, that you can't cast concentration spells into these. It has to be a non-concentration effect. So you're being forced to maintain concentration on something that normally wouldn't require you to maintain concentration. Thus, we make it as though it were a cantrip or a first level spell. It's just the minimum of one. So a 9th level artificer could have 3 traps set that are all if you're 9th level, all 3rd level spells that are trapped inside of them, like fireball, slow. No, slow's a concentration effect. But like I don't know, fireball, hold person, and blindness. No, blindness is sustained. Damn it, hold person is sustained. I don't know, stuff, whatever. Anyway, you have to maintain concentration on that fireball until basically you let the trap pop. So anyway, I think you guys get it already. You can use utilization with the trap screen kit to infuse a spell that doesn't require concentration into a hunter's trap. You can have a number of active traps at once equal. You can have a number of infused traps at once. Working on language here, folks. Infused traps at once equal to your max spell level gained as an artificer up to 5 at 17th. Each spell is considered a first rank sustained power when infused this way. That requires... Each spell is considered hold on, let me reword this. Sustaining holding an infused spell in a trap requires concentration. The DC requires concentration with a DC requires concentration, period. The DC is equal to 10 plus the number of traps active and counts towards the total levels of the total spell levels you can maintain. As a bonus action, you can throw the trap to an unoccupied 5-foot space on a surface that can support its weight within 20 feet of you as a bonus action. Is that the weight of a hunter's trap? Tools, where do my hunter's trap go? Hunting trap, not hunter's trap, hunting trap, thank you. Hunting trap. I love that this shit is here now. God, that feels so good. When a creature begins its turn or enters the space occupied by it, instead of the normal effect. Instead of the trap's normal effects, whenever a creature begins its turn or enters the space occupied by a trap, whether willingly or as part of forced movement, it triggers, targeting the creature occupying the space with the effect of the spell if it's a single target. Spells that have an area of effect originate from the space occupied by the trap, aimed in the direction from which the creature entered the space. A triggered trap is consumed as part of the spell effect. No, I want to do that. How is that? Triggering a spell trap. Triggering a spell this way does not damage the trap. Dismissing one or more traps is a free action during your turn or requires a reaction. If you lose concentration, all traps are dismissed without effect, and the imbued spell effects are wasted. There you go. Wording: you can take the utilized action with a spring trap kit, see below, to infuse a spell that doesn't require concentration. You do not have to have the spell prepared. You do not have to have the spell prepared to infuse it, but each spell counts towards your maximum number of known infusions. There you go. I think we've bolted down all the technical language for this. That's not bad. That is fucking not bad. Spring trap kit. Hunting kit. Hunting trap. God, that's so fucking cool. All right, well now I'm geeking out. Let's go look at the big bad list of spells. This will be the 2014. We're gonna have to rebuild this list for 2024. This remains as a legacy, which is included in the zip file. But when I update the actual documents, I'm only going to be using the spells that are listed in the 2024 Player's Handbook, because none of the other spells are technically legit. You can backwards compatibility them, which we have listed here for you. But that's going to simplify everything for me. Actually, pretty significant. It should be actually really easy for me to be able to restring the spell format, considering there's less spells per class now. So let's go to the artificer. And again, you can get this entire spell list if you in the 5-color mana system. The revised spell list, ironically, it doesn't have, it's pay what you want, so it doesn't have any extras. But if you pick up either tap and tap, this is the one. If you pick up the core mechanics book, it has this entire Excel sheet broken down by class, including just the core stuff as well as all the expansion book stuff. So that's there for anyone that's interested in it. But this is how the revised list looks. You have multiple colors, and we have instant effects, concentration effects, and persistent effects. And we simplified durations for Magic, and that means that some of the spells, their durations changed. Since you have so many spell points in the game, like Foresight, for example, you can cast a 9th level spell more than once per day if you need to. So Foresight is no longer just a persistent effect, it's now a concentration effect. It gives you advantage on literally everything that you're doing. It's going to eat up 9 of your spell slots to maintain that. It's a massive buff. So we make you pay for it with concentration now. Of course, DMs are welcome to override this list, but this is just our suggestions, considering what we know that these spells are capable of doing, and that changing the duration, the style of duration for a spell intensifies it. So concentration spells stay on for however long you can maintain concentration for them, period. When you take a long rest, you lose concentration because you're incapacitated. There you go. Persistent spells last 24 hours, or until you finish a long rest, whichever happens first. And then instant effects are instant. So let's look at we're looking at the artificer. Let's look at the number of instant effects that the artificer has, instant or persistent effects, I guess, the artificer has available. So these are cantrips. So acid, booming blade, firebolt, green flame, lightning, mending, mending trap. You hit them and suddenly they're better off. Poison. These all make a lot of sense. Poison spray. Okay, so here's a really cool fucking thing that you may have already thought of, but I wanted to share real quick so I could say I said it first. Cure Wounds instant effect. I can cast Cure Wounds into a hunting trap and then throw it at my allies. So I could load up a bunch of healing potions that I can trigger on my turn just by throwing it into the space that they occupy. And then when it's their turn or they move, it pops and they get healed. And then I can go pick up my trap. So you can use this to buff allies and to impede or damage enemies. Your choice. Fucking fun. I know, right? Artificer's fucking fun. Like just this trap springing, the mana crystals and the mana stones, the spell stones, it makes them incredibly utilitarian. You can throw a shield onto somebody. You can throw a trap and then bam, they get hit with a shield spell. That's fucking cool. Let's just make sure those work. Like the armor gets the shield spell. Base artificer doesn't get shield, but the armorer does. And for the armorer, that becomes an artificer spell, which means that you could lob shields onto your friends as needed. Really fucking fun stuff. Okay, so let's look at the higher end. Let's see some of the shit you can do at 17th level with this. Most stuff requires concentration. Greater Restoration, that's cool. Lob a Greater Restoration at an ally, because you can prep you have to maintain concentration to keep them, but if you know you're going into a battle, your artificer can just drop these into a couple of traps and have them ready to go, and you can always refuel them. It only takes a utilize action as an action to load it, and then a bonus action to throw it. So you can do one per round, but it's going to eat up almost all of your action economy unless you want to spend a spell point with... let's go find that exploit real quick so you know what I'm looking at. So here's the beginning of the document. And again, everyone has access to this. All you gotta do is go to the Martial Powers playtest content here in the description. Through my Patreon, you can click on the Martial Powers button. And here you go. So the same document that I'm looking at right now. So we scroll down. And let's go to our exploits. Swift tools. If using a tool that you can hold in one hand would normally require an action or bonus action, let's do it like this. If utilizing a tool or equipment that you can hold in one hand. When you use a tool or equipment that you can hold in one hand. Damn it. When a tool, there we go. When a tool or equipment that you can hold in one hand would normally require an action or bonus action to utilize. So it says tools or consuming a potion. You can do so as a, wait, this has been resolved. We know that a potion takes a bonus action only to drink. Cheers. You can do so as an object interaction instead, and that is a 1-point mana cost, and it's an exploit, so it basically just modifies, like abundant stat, that modifies your movement while you're moving. Breath of Life alters the ability check you make while you're stabilizing a creature. Cooperative Effort manipulates how your help action works. Overrun deals damage while you're moving, and you can deal more damage if you scale it up with a kicker effect. Yeah, stuff like that. So Swift Tools, first rank, super useful. Swift Attunement's awesome, 2 points. You can attune to a magic item you're holding as an object interaction. You lose attunement when you release the item. So you can pick up something, 2 points, and then you can use it and let it go. It's expensive to do it, but when you need to pull shit off like that, you can. So you can Swift Attune to something just by picking it up as an object interaction, and then you could use it during the same turn. Yeah, and then let it go. Anyway. So that's the Swift Tools. Maybe I should call it Swift Utility. Nah, Swift Tools sounds cool. Let's see. So good. That's solid now. And yeah, there's just a fuck ton of cool shit you can do with that. Trap String Kit. We have that down. Empowered. Okay, so here's the final infusion before we actually get down into actually building power gear itself. And we are at, what time is it? It's 11 o'clock. I still have an hour. That's great. So we'll get the empowered weapons done, and that'll set the frame for the rest of the items that we create. Level 6. Item, a simple or martial weapon. This magic weapon grants a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls made with it, and you can choose one basic or advanced type of damage the weapon deals when you hit with it. This weapon grants a... Let's see, this magic weapon... granting a bonus to attack and damage rolls based on your determined by your artificer level. Level bonus. 6 to 17 is 5, so let's see, 6 to 17, that's actually 11. 18. There you go, level bonus. The weapon can... You can choose one type of damage from the what's the word I used? Hold on, let's go down to the meta powers. So these disciplines, there's 5 disciplines, right? Exploits, which modify die rolls and actions that you're already taking. Maneuvers, which you can trigger as an action or a bonus action twice in the same round if you want to do point-click effects that either affect yourself or somebody else. Sometimes it's an AoE, usually it's just a single target. There are reactions, which are self-explanatory. When something happens, you can spend mana to do this other thing. There's strikes, which are on hit, like divine. Like, okay, so I talked about this when we converted paladin. In my opinion, wizards understood the problem, but didn't know how to solve the problem with paladin smite. The problem with paladin smite was not that you spent a spell slot whenever you hit with an attack. The problem is that they designed all of the paladin spells to be bonus action concentration that stacks with the divine smite when you hit and you had them both active. So you get to double dip your spell levels. A 17th level paladin can throw 10 levels of spell into a smite power, and they realized that's too strong. So they wanted to fix it. The way to fix it is to make all the divine smite spells on hit effects, just like divine smite already is. What they did instead was they made all divine smite things a bonus action that triggers when you hit. So there was not a problem with spamming attacks that you hit. It just let the paladin do the same damage as a rogue did twice during their own turn instead of once, which is a really great way to differentiate the paladin from the rogue in that sense. Use your resource to do sneak attacks as you please. But they just needed to put a cap on how often they could do it. So instead, they made it a bonus action, and now they encourage you to take 2 levels of paladin and 18 levels of sorcerer, because they don't have a level cap on it anymore. So you take your 2-level dip to get access to smite, then you leave that for sorcerer or wizard, blade is it blade singer? Whatever. That gives you access. I mean, few people would want to spend a 9th level spell slot on a divine smite, but you can, and it would be 10d8 damage that you would be doing with that 9th level spell. 98 with a 7th with an 8th level, 8d8 with a 7th level spell slot, which you get 2 of, 78, which you get 2 6th level spell slots down the line. So they didn't fix they just reduced the frequency, but they took the cap away. So it's just as bad as it used to be. You're just now guaranteed. You could only do that double smite once per round anyway. Now they're just costing you a bonus action economy to do it. So they didn't actually fix the problem, in my humble opinion. So I think the better solution, which we have, are strikes, or which would be divine smites if I was in charge of wizards. Which is you take all of these different effects of stuff that you can do and you just burn them down into an on-hit effect. I hit you with an attack. I can now trigger 1 mana to do any of these things. I'll deal a power die of damage plus whatever these effects are. And we figured out last session the way to fix ranged attacks is ranged weapons like bows, crossbows, stuff like that. You can use them with power, but they'll just use a smaller die, unless you have a power or a feature that allows you to use the same power die. So a melee attack at level 1 would do extra d6 damage per mana, while a ranged attack would do a d4. It's not a significant difference, but the range of combat in D&D isn't significant either. So I mean, like you can close distance really easily now in 2024. So you don't have to have it deal half damage. It can just deal a little less. It's a touch of nerf to make it annoying enough that either the player will feel it because it's obnoxious, or they'll spend the extra point of mana to have the same power die for all weapons that they use. Or if you're just a range specialist anyway, maybe you should just take a ranger who doesn't have to worry about it. But there's 26 different strike powers from level 1 to 4, and you can use them every time you hit with an attack. And you can burn action economy to create free mana to do this during your attack. So you could still use your bonus action to strike, but it'd be on hit effect, and you're using the bonus action to generate free mana for the strike power. Instead of requiring the bonus action to cast a spell, you can use the bonus action to generate free mana for that spell. So you can spam smite strike effects a lot more often, which helps ramp your character's physical damage without having to over spec into it. It's just point and click. Or if you're doing super specialization stuff, then you can overclock and just do ridiculous damage. But damage really isn't ever the issue in combat in 5e. The issue with combat most people have in 5e is pacing. is making the battle feel like it has meaning, but being able to hit hard enough. The amount of damage that the characters deal to monsters really is irrelevant, because you're just going to scale the hit point capacity of the creatures to match the kind of output that the players can do. The real issue is ending the fight fast enough that it's not obnoxious, but hurt them enough during the fight that they remember and they regret the mistakes that they make during that short battle. So a 3-round combat is fine if you can deal. If you had a 5th level party that has like a combined amount of, like, what would they have? Party of 4, say 40, 30, 30, 25. They'd have about 125 hit points. If during the course of a 3-round round of combat you can deal 75 points of damage to them, that's going to tear them apart. Like, if you do that 4 times a day, they're going to be like, yeah, this is exhausting. And they're going to be content. But you have to damage them. You have to hit them and hit them hard with small enough iterative attacks that you can rifle through them to just eventually wear them down without like risking a one shot to kill them, but get it so that they're always taking damage. And by feathering in save effects that will deal extra damage to them whether they got hit or not, or deal deal ongoing damage each round whether they without even a saving throw. Those are good ways to damage and atrophy your character's resources by making them heal a lot. And it makes them nervous during combat because they're being physically challenged with hit point loss. They have to eat their action economy to stay afloat. So if you have a fast, hard combat that they can resolve quickly, and then have a breather, like a chance to look at the room, and then bam, get hit with another heavy hit the next round, then when you soften occasionally, it'll feel good. So you want to oscillate between intensity and frequency of damage that you're dealing to the team, which can feel stale if you just have like, oh, you didn't detect the trap, take this damage. Instead, it's you detect the trap, and it's going to take a little bit for you to get through it. And every time your team fails an ability check to get through it, someone on the team is going to get hurt as a result of it, but you keep processing through it as part of the narrative experience. So, because hit points is the battery. It is the battery that we use in the game. So you want to think about ways to make it fun, and just the damage that you deal is basically the ticking clock against each character. So back into it. Infuse items, empowered weapon. Now the infused weapon becomes magical, granting a bonus to attack and damage rolls. Oh, that's what I was trying to do. I was meandering my way out of. So that's how strikes work, and then there's sustained powers, which are like you turn them on, they stay on. Their aura, like personal aura effects. And then you have the meta powers, the combat, and these are basically cantrips. They don't cost anything to use them. I have 63 of them currently. 13 combat masteries, which are weapon masteries that if you prepare them as basically as a cantrip, you can use them on any weapon that you're proficient with, including unarmed attacks and natural weapons. And then there's 40 feats that you can learn or prepare instead of powers that cost mana. You don't get the ability score increase, but you don't have the prerequisites either, so you can pick any of these. Starting at level 1. So as a power that you learn as a spell resource, you basically pick these things up, and so you can have it at level 1, so you can complete your character's actions, your feat, you can get all your feats by probably 3rd level. And then when you get to 4th level, you can actually use it on ASI to increase your stats. Or, if there's a cherry pick that you want, go for it. I'm not going to judge. And then magical damage. Basic and advanced. That's what I was looking for. The infused weapon becomes magical. In addition, choose one type of damage from the basic or advanced damage lists in the meta power section in the meta power section above. Period. In addition, choose one of the weapon property options below. The weapon gains the properties if it doesn't already possess them. Light with finesse. In addition, choose one of the weapon property options below. The weapon gains the properties if it doesn't already possess them. So you can take a dagger and make it a heavy reach dagger, so it's like Cloud's sword. You could take a two-handed sword and give it the light and finesse properties. So now you've got your great sword that you could use with sneak attack if you want to hand one of those off to your rogue. He's not proficient with it, I mean, but if you have a multi-class, that'd be really fucking cool. Plus, the weapon can be wielded with one hand. Weapon must now be wielded with two hands. Thrown. Range equals attuned proficiency bonus times 10 feet. Double long range. Long range is doubled. Alternatively, you can infuse one combat mastery into the empowered weapon. There you go. That the attuned user you can infuse the weapon with one combat mastery that the attuned creature can use this mastery even if they without knowing or preparing. Period. You can use this mastery. What's up? Oh, right on. Same text. Still loving it. So, yeah. Cool stuff. Alternatively, you can infuse the weapon with one combat mastery. The attuned creature can use this mastery. Infused item. Empowered weapon. Can I drop this? Can I do, yeah, I can do that. I can do 210. Yeah, I'm good with that. Normally you can't have advanced damage types until your 6th level. Choose one type of damage from the basic damage lists. From the basic damage list in the meta power section above. At 6th level, you can choose from the advanced damage list instead. Fuck you. There you go. In addition, there you go. So the 2nd level. Empowered weapon, trap spring kit, spell trap, prerequisites, level 2. I want all this shit to come online as soon as you can get it. New infusions, mana crystal, power stone, spell trap. Empowered weapon. Empowered weapon comes before spell trap. I'm really thinking about when I start the new playtest in November to go with the Oops All Warlocks option for full casters and have them join the team. So you could have your wizard, but he's going to be using the Warlock Pact magic instead, or a druid, or a cleric, sorcerer, yada yada yada. All of them just use Warlocks instead, so that we can have all 13 classes at the table, all using the same short rest mana system. That would, yeah. Now that we're changing the frame of reference out of the Hex Crawl into the Blind Eternities, it doesn't matter if characters get access to like teleportation and stuff like that during the playtest, because you're not trying to. It's not the Robo Belt campaign was you're stranded in the Robo Belt. You got to find a way out. Good luck. And we were testing it at the half casting level, so there were restraining what your escape options were. But by going with the Blind Eternities as a plane hopping mega dungeon, then it doesn't matter. So, but I still want to work on the short rest to unify everyone. I need to step away actually for a hot second here and refill my coffee. But I'm going to BRB. So give me a second. I'll be right back. Oh, crap. Ha! Thanks for that. Yeah, I completely botched that. Very, very much appreciated. Thanks, man. Yeah, okay, so we got those. We're gonna be doing a spell point. We're gonna eventually be taking all this out of this book and making a spell point artificer, spell point sorcerer, just like we have for the spell point warlocks and the knights and tricksters books. This here is taking each book has like a different dive. Like the core mechanics deals like with just a very surface minimum of like how do we convert spell slots in the 8 schools of magic into spell points and color magic, and what's the minimum changes we need to make to a class to make that work. And then like the knights and tricksters leaned into the Eldritch Knight and Arcane Trickster as thank you. As like they have a spellcaster variant. So let's deep dive in like how cool can you make them just as spellcasters. And then now we have this Martial Powers book, which is, well, you could do that with your Knight and Tricksters, but here's an entirely new magic system that gives martials mana, and how does that change how your knight works? How do you want to use that? And then from there, we got the core mechanics book, and it's like, well, you think sorcerers are kind of cool. Let's expand on that. Like here's if I were to open up the spell point sorcerer book, there's like 30 meta magics in there. Like you can stack meta magic on top of your spellcasting effect with 1 mana pool, so you have like 100 mana over the course of 20 levels, and there's no difference between spell points and sorcery points. It's just a massive pool of spell points that you can add on. Like you can add on as many meta magic effects onto your spell as you want, if it's within the limit of mana that you can spend. Like it has the half casting progression. First level you can meta magic 1 mana. At 17th level you can meta magic 5 mana. And when you're popping your sorcery rage, you can double it. And at 20th level, when you pop Sorcerer's Rage, there's no limit. So you can dump in 15, 20 meta magics if you wanted to dump that mana on top of it and just go supernova. But that's level 20, you should be able to do that. So like a 3rd level spell costs 3 mana, and you get that at 5th level. So that means you can put 2 meta magic on top of it, which means that at 5th level, you can cast up to a 3rd level spell with up to 2 mana with up to 2 levels worth of meta magic stacked on top of it. And we got this whole list of meta magics that cost anywhere from 1 to 4 points to add on. So by the time you get to level 17, you could always use at least 2 meta magics together. You have the capacity to always use 2 meta magics together if you want to. So that's just a step further into what sorcerers can do. So like in the core mechanics, we'll still have the list of meta magics that you can learn, and you'll have the list of spells that you can learn, but the mana will all be the same. So you can use meta magic as much as you want, but you only have like 4 meta magics, so it'll be very limited. And then when you get spell point sorcerers, it'll have like this huge block. Like here's all the extra shit that you can do with your subclasses and your meta magic abilities and just sorcery in general. So we'll really be able to deep dive into it, and we'll be able to do the same with the artificer. Like here's the spell point artificer. We'll be able to deep dive into like all the cool shit you can do with that. And I'm half tempted with spell point warlocks to just go oops all warlocks inside of that, but I'm holding off until now. I'm waiting until November comes out to see if they still have spell points in the DMG or not for 2024. If they drop spell points, then I'm going to drop the stupid DMG 2014 spell point system. I don't know honestly if they've been willing to devote a whole page to it or not. So we'll see. I hope they don't, because I'd love to corner that market. But if they do, I'll respect that. Let's see. So empowered weapons, mana crystals, power stones, spell traps. You can draw ambient magic from the environment, condense into a small crystal. The crystal is encoded with 1 power from Chapter 2. List of powers above, or an artificer spell. You do not have to have the power or spell prepared. And each chosen spell counts towards your total known infusions. Turns the maximum rank of power or level of spell you can encode this way. These power stones require the use while in possession while the the reason I'm choking on this is that we've created a means of being able to put a spell inside of a stone, but I also want to have a way of hold on, okay. Powers infused into items this way require the user a power infused into an item this way requires the user to provide the mana and to maintain concentration if it's a spell that requires it. So I want to change this. Infuse item. Empowered gear. Empowered equipment. Item. Simple or martial weapon. How does the artificer word it currently? I'm trying to make it so that you can or a let's do that, or a small gem. But I also want to see what the wording is for just infusions in general. So let's see what the general terminology for infusion is. Are extraordinary processes that rapidly turn a non-magical object into a magic item. The description of each of the following infusions details the type of object that can receive it, along with whether the resulting magic item requires attunement. Some infusions specify a minimum artificer level. Unless an infusion's description says otherwise, you can't learn an infusion more than once. The wearer of the armor gains the benefit. Item, suit of armor. Suit of armor. Pair of boots. Staff, wand. Simple or martial weapon. An object you can hold in one hand. Simple or martial weapon. An item you can carry or wear. A weapon, here we go. Item, a weapon. A weapon or item you can hold. Yeah, there we go. A weapon or item you can carry or wear. Or that would include an item that I could wear. There. A weapon or an item. A weapon or item. A weapon or item you can carry or wear. I think that's generally vague enough, right? You can draw ambient magic from the environment. You can infuse you can empower an item with 1 power from Chapter 2 from the list of powers above, or an artificer spell. You do not have to have the power or spell prepared, and each chosen power or spell counts towards your total known infusions. Your artificer level determines the maximum rank of power or level of spell you can encode. You can encode one, 2, 6, 8. There you go. A power infused into a power encoded. Encoded into an item this way requires the user to provide the mana and to maintain concentration if it's a spell that requires it. You can encode an item with 1 power. You do not have to have the power or spell prepared. You can infuse a weapon you can use this infusion on a weapon that is infused with the empowered weapon infusion. There. Okay, that resolves it. And now we can have spell stones as a separate magic item. An artificer can create temporary spell stones if they want to this way. You can do anything this way. This allows you just to use it. You can use a power or spell encoded in an item this way. Requires a user to possess the attuned creature, to possess the object, and provide the mana to use it, and to maintain concentration if it's a spell that requires it. Okay, that feels thorough. And that opens up a lot of design space that I can basically just take any item and infuse it, and now it has a power stored inside of it. And if it's the empowered weapon, you can use this on top of that. But you don't necessarily have to have a strike power in the weapon. You can just have a strike power on your bandolier of mana stones that have a strike power inside of it that you could then use to channel into a strike power whenever you hit. So there you go. So with that, we have resolved the artificer. And now let's double check our language for multi-classing with channeling and spellcasting. Multi-classing between channeling classes. Each class combines their levels. Each class combines their level to determine max channel limit, power die, and powers known For example, Fighter 5, Ranger 10 has a combined mix. Yeah, right. For example, Fighter 5, Ranger 10 has a combined max channel limit of 5 plus 10 equals 15. With a D8 power die, and knows a total of, that number's changed, so level 15. Oh wait, I should add those separately. The total number of prepared powers is the combined number for each class gained with each class. For example, Fighter 5, Ranger 10 has a total number of prepared, has a total of 8 plus 13. 21 powers. The maximum rank of power you can learn is limited by the level of your class. For example, a 15th level character with 5 levels of fighter and 10 levels of ranger can learn up to 3rd rank powers, because a ranger gains 3rd rank powers at 9th level. Each class adds their separate mana pool into a single pool. All classes gain mana on a short. Classes that regain mana on a short rest continue to do so. Each class adds their separate mana pool into a single pool. Does that contradict what we have up here? Right. We have to have those separated specifically because if you start mixing in full casters, they gain mana at a different rate than what these marshals do. Classes that each class adds their separate mana in a single pool. All classes, get rid of that. Classes that regain mana on a short rest continue to do so. Add their separate mana pool. As a pool of, this changed. Five plus 10, 15 mana. So lower levels, more powers. At 15th level, you'd have 21 powers. At 15th level, you would normally have 18 powers. So you gave up 5 levels of character progression because you should have 4th rank powers at this point with 15 character levels, but you sacrificed scaling your power up. So as a result, you get more powers as a trade-off, though they're going to be lower levels. Balancing act. Multiclassing between channeling and spellcasting. Multiclassing with channeling and spellcasting. Multiclassing between channeling classes. Multiclassing between channeling and spellcasting classes. If multiclassing when a character multiclasses hold on. I'll get this. a character with both spellcasting and channeling I'm word salading here. Hold on. When multiclassing. Oh yeah, I see how that works now. If multiclassing if in classes with both spellcasting and channeling. With spellcasting and channeling, the universal spell points, elemental key, and color magic options are intended for use with martial powers. Period. You can preview and purchase them at DMsGuild here. Plugin. Full casting classes don't gain the channeling class feature, so you can't learn any martial powers, and you don't contribute any levels towards channeling class features. Full casting classes include Bard, Cleric, Druid, Sorcerer, Wizard. For example, Rogue 5, Sorcerer 10 has a combined max channel limit of 5 plus 0 equals second rank is the correct answer. And a max spell level of 5. For separate class levels, determine the total number of powers and max rank that they can be learned. For example, Rogue 5, Sorcerer 10 can learn a total of 8 powers. A second level lower or second or lower rank, and can learn 11. Is 11 spells still? Let's go find the Sorcerer. I love design work so much. It's so... If you aren't familiar with it, it can be stressful. But once you get familiar with the process, it has the same feeling as just writing or painting. It's a creative process, and it just flows by itself until you hit a hiccup that challenges your like as an artist. I don't have a lot of things that get in the way of me being able to depict something as an illustration. But when I hit something I'm not familiar with, I slow down and have to think my way through how do I solve the problem that I'm facing. And design is the same way. And I'm not as good as designing as I am as an artist. So I'm not as practiced as a designer as I am as an artist. So I fall out of flow with design work more often than I do with artwork. Artwork's to the point where I don't have to think at all while I'm painting. I can just yammer on in conversation forever. But prepared spells, there we go. But I'm not at that level of proficiency with design work yet. But I'll get there. Give me time. 15. You can prepare. Can be prepared. Each separate class level determines the total number of powers and max rank. Max rank. Each separate class determines the total number of powers or spells, total number, and max rank of powers and spells you can prepare, and the max rank or level, max rank of power or level of spell that can be prepared. God, that worked. For example, Rogue 5, Sorcerer 10 can learn a total of 8 powers of 2nd or lower rank and prepare 15 spells of 5th or lower rank. Each class adds their separate mana pool, their separate mana into a single pool. All classes gain mana on a full rest. Classes that regain mana on a short rest continue to do so. For example, Rogue 5, Sorcerer 10 contributes 5 ki from Rogue and looks like we're cracking out skill point sorcerers after all. Just from the earlier conversation, here's our meta magic list. Binding, which restrain a blinding spell. It blinds targets when they get hit if they fail a saving throw on top of whatever else they're doing. Careful spell. This can target AoE or single targets as you please. Careful spell doesn't target people. Corroding spell deals acid damage. Distant spell increases range. Empowered spell increases damage dice. Extended spell extends the duration. Impeding slows people. Lifelink gives you temporary hit points equal to a d6 per point of mana spent this way. Yeah. And then we look up here to the sorcerer. Like we have like little exceptions to everything, like all the little meta magic things that all the subclasses can do. But since they changed the sorcerer, we need to go back through and look at all these features again, which is why this and many other reasons why these aren't published yet, but are still works in progress. So if we're using this, you get 15 spells total at level 10. And again, there's no distinguishment between meta magic versus spells. So you could learn at 10th level, you could learn one spell and have 14 meta magics that you can modify both your spells and your cantrips with if you wanted to. How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So yeah, there's 24 of them. So yeah, good. Oh, wait, 22 of them because I counted these things on accident. So there's 22 of them. 22 meta magics that you can learn. So yeah, Bob's your uncle. 10 mana, 10th level mana total is 46. So you start with 3 spells at first level because you're a sorcerer. You overclock everything, right? Most spellcasters only get 2 mana. Well, the artificer, when you're using short rest, it's only 1 mana per short rest. But when it's a long rest cycle, you normally start with 2 mana. But it's like 2, 5, 8, and then it curves out to end up being 80 over 20 levels. But the sorcerer starts with 3, 7, 11, 14. See, you go up, you start with 3, it goes up by 4, goes up by 4, goes up by 5, goes up by 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, and then it goes up by 6, 6, 6, 6. So it starts with 3, goes to 4, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 6, 6, 6, 6, done. And you end at 100, and you end at 100 mana at the end of the day. Or you could, oops, all Warlocks, and you could have the 1 to 20 mana, but then at second level you'd have 3 mana, and by the time you get to 20th level you'd have 30 temporary mana instead of 20, and you would have and then you had the 40 Mystic Arcanum points. Sorry, I kind of blanked out there for a second. So at 10th level, it's 46. There you go. And 46 mana. See that? It was 36 with the old system, and 10 levels in, you have 10 mana more because of sorcery points. Nice. From Sorcerer for a combined... Hold on. Let me show you what I mean here real quick instead of just saying it. Let me show you. If we go back to... I should probably just keep this tab open. But color mana list here. And we go down to the... core mechanics, and we crack that open. Again, I make all my books free preview, not because, well, mostly because I want you guys to know that the shit that I build is worth it. But when you buy my books, it's not so you can get access to it. It's to encourage me to make more of them. So I like that approach instead. This is an advertisement for all the other books that I'm going to create in the future. And all of these books on DMsGuild are an advertisement to the quality of my Kickstarter campaigns when they launch. So we'll get there eventually. But yeah, at 10th level, normally a full caster with 80 mana would have 36 hit points at level 10. And a sorcerer would have 10 sorcery points at level 10. So it just happens to work out that at 10th level with this new system, he has 46 points. I did that on purpose. I worked this through the halfway mark. I said I'm going to start with 3, and we're going to get 46 by 10th level, and then we're going to have 100 by 20th level. How can I curve this out so it's a consistent build towards that limit? And you can see here it starts with 2, and then by 11th level it's 40, and then by 20th level it's 80. So how do I curve this out? It's you start with 2, and then you gain 2, and then you gain 3. I'm sorry, you gain 2, and then you gain 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, up to 40, 50, 50, 60, and then it's 5, 5, 5, 5 till 20th. And then the long rest half casters, they start with 2, and then 3 instead of 4, and then 5 instead of 8, and then 6 instead of 12, and 8 instead of 16, and it just starts scaling that way. So it goes from 2 to 20 at 13th, 20 at 12, and then 40. And then you got the third casters, which if using long rest mana, 3 at third, and then 20 at 20th, and it just goes up 1 point per level. But then the martial power system gives you mana at first level for all the classes. So I'm really happy that they made that conversion. So back here, we were looking at back in the day, as if you're a half caster, you don't actually get your spell casting for the ranger and paladin until second level, in which case you would get 3 mana at second level, and then there you go. But now that all classes get mana at first level, I'm so sad that the monk doesn't get key at first level. So of course we changed that. But yeah, this is all curving out. So back to the point. For example, Rogue 5, Sorcerer 10 contributes 5 mana. 5 mana from Rogue and 46 mana from Sorcerer for a combined pool of 51 mana at 15th level. Regaining 5 on a short rest. And yeah, and we already know that we get all of our mana back on a long rest. When you finish a short rest. This mana can be spent to channel any powers or cast any spells you know. So you combine your mana pool, but again, the sorcerer capable of casting 5th level spells. Is that sorcerer with 5 levels of rogue really going to invest its time in channeling a first level power? Maybe, if it allows it to use like an object as an to do something as an object interaction instead of a bonus action. Yeah, so you could feather it. So the sorcerer mixing with this actually makes a really cool gish. You get your spells, you get a ton of meta magic, and you get powers. So you can use the powers not to increase your weapon damage, but to get reactions, to get you out of trouble, to use exploits, to use your fat mana pool to be able to manipulate your dice as much as you want. But most of the really cool utility shit in the power system comes in at first or second level. So this thing really encourages you to want to dive into gaining powers instead of capping your character off with a full caster at 20th level. Why? Let's go reference again here real quick. Take a look at the spell point Warlock as an example. I just wanted to switch books. So we're jumping back into the Warlock, and we can see here almost every full caster has the same options here. At 19th level, you get access to 10th level spell slots, and that's the only way you can get access to Wish. Wish is the only 10th level spell. So you have to have 19 levels in a casting class to get access to a 10th level spell slot, which will allow you to use Wish to manipulate other spells. And then you have to be 20th level for you to like make a wish. You know, like the 33% chance this will fuck you up forever. You can't do that until 20th level. So if you want this level of power, you cannot multi-class. Now the question is it worth dipping 2 levels of fighter and lose access to wish at the high end for you to get 2 levels of rogue or fighter or something, so you can dip into power and use this super fat mana pool to do just a shitload of powers all day? Hard to say. Let's go up here, and again, there's the disparage between the two. So let's go back up into here and let's look at our empowered actions again. Because you can generate free mana by sacrificing action economy. So how does that interact when you're using multi-classing? Empowered actions. Characters with the channeling class feature can use actions during combat to generate temporary mana for channeling exploits, maneuvers, and strike powers during the turn it is created. So you can generate free mana, but the sorcerer can't use it for any sorcery, for any meta magic or spell casting. Though I could make in the future, I could make a Gish sorcerer that can use empowered actions to generate mana for meta magic effects. Not spell casting, but the effects of the meta magic. So I can bend it that way. Like, there's so many ways you can bend and combine mana together once you have everyone using the same system with the amount of subsystems that each class gets. It's super fucking cool. So anyway, those are ideas. Like the build a spell idea that they had in the UA for a wizard, that you can just make that as as just, you can learn a spell and then you can learn it again in a modified state. That it doesn't have to be a spell to do that. It could just be something as a class feature they can do, or it could just be like a crafting feat if you really want it. Anyway, this also allows you to put meta magics inside of power stones. So if you have a power stone, you can use that meta magic even if you're not a sorcerer. So ideas, fun stuff we can do. So let's, okay, so that's resolved, and now we're back down in here. Both powers, hybrid, and martial casting classes. Both powers and spells that require concentration. Spells that require, ooh, wait, there we go. Spells that require concentration can be combined. Spells that require concentration can be maintained while sustaining up to period. Up to your max channel or spellcasting limit. Together, up to your max channel or spellcast, or up to your max. Oh shit! It's almost noon. Up to your max channel or spellcasting limit. A character can lock sustained powers up to your max channel limit, but not spells. Locking channels reduces the max spell level you can maintain. Period. For example, a Rogue 5 Sorcerer 10 can sustain a combined total of 5 levels, spell levels, and powers. Fifth level. Can sustain, can combine up to 5 spell levels and 2 ranks of powers. The maximum of powers that can be sustained is 2. Let's see, up to can combine. How do I order this? This will be the last thing. Basically, we can do this, and then we'll have to come back and we'll look at magic items and monsters next time. So we're getting there. For example, a rogue 5 and sorcerer 10 can maintain, can sustain up to 2 mana of powers and 5 mana of spells. The max amount of powers if a sustaining 2 ranks of power reduces the max level of spell you can maintain. Reduces the max level of spell you can concentrate on to 3. There. For example, a rogue 5, where'd it go? Spells that require concentration can be maintained while sustaining powers together up to your max channel or spellcasting limit. Can be maintained together, period. A character can For example, a rogue 5, sorcerer 10 can sustain up to 2 mana of can sustain up to 2 ranks of power and 5 levels of spells. Sustaining 2 ranks of power reduces the max level of spell you can concentrate on to 3rd, while concentrating on a 5th level spell reduces the max rank of power you can sustain to 0. So there you go. It's push-pull. See core mechanics here for more details about maintaining concentration on multiple spells. Hybrid and martial classes. Rangers, paladins, eldritch knights, and arcane tricksters both gain both the channeling and spellcasting class features. They can freely choose between any martial powers and spells on their spell lists when preparing new powers or spells as described in each class above. For example, Ranger 10 can prepare because they all use the same progression table. Ranger 10 can prepare 13 powers or spells of 3rd or lower rank and level. Has a max power spell limit of 3 and can maintain concentration on up to 3 mana combined between powers and spells. Can maintain concentration or sustain up to 3 mana combined between spells and powers. Can sustain or maintain concentration on up to 3 mana combined between powers and spells. If you lock, we don't have locking anymore. There you go. Hopefully that makes sense. So we talk about channeling, all the things you do with channeling. Then we talk about how full casters and multi-classing integrates into that. And then we look at, again, how hybrid and martial classes interact with that as well. Hybrid and martial casting classes, for example. The martial... Paladins and Rangers. This will be the last thing. Paladins and Rangers add their full class level to determine their multi-channel level and contribute is the word. Contribute their full class level to determine their multi-channeling level and half rounded down and half their class level rounded down to determine their their multi-class spellcasting level. There. And that was the last piece. That's the last draw. All right, so when we come back, we will be back. And when we are going to, now that we're done with the multi-classing caveats, we've gotten all of the artificer shit just completely locked down at this point. Man, we'll probably go into the spell point Warlock and really just build alternate subclasses for this stuff and buff those stuff out just for fun. And I'll probably start like the Echo Knight and stuff like that. We'll eventually put those on my Patreon. Which will be a fun celebration of once this book publishes, we can just start churning out like little one-pagers for like a Dimir Rogue or whatever. We can really just dive in, like a Boros Swiftblade as a separate subclass, like channeling subclass option for like a paladin or whatever. Anyway, like a Strix class would probably be the best way to put that. Hybrid. Okay, great. Yeah, so when we come back, we'll work on power gear. We'll make sure we lock down like what the gear can do, and then we have the random tables for generating gear. And we use the New Player's Handbook to guide us in that. And then we have examples of different power gear that we created. So I want to we have to make sure these are all still valid. They may have changed. I know some of this stuff's changed. And once we get through the power gear, we're going to drop down to the DM section and we'll work on monsters. We'll skip past the Magic Paradigms for now. All these backgrounds for Ravnica and Strixhaven should really be up in the players section. And then creatures using power. So templates for each style for creating different classes of monsters. and then how they scale with their CR, and then a bunch of sample, like a sample kit of like a generic skirmisher or a generic lurker or whatever, using 4E language, and then build and then show you how to apply monster role templates to creatures and apply and then create unique kits for monsters, just like we did in the Theurgy system, where we had unique we had general mishaps by school of magic or color, and then we had specific mishaps to each spell if you wanted to get specific about it. And in here we're showing you just generic roles that monsters can use and what kind of powers they might have associated with them. And then let's look at each individual monster, which could be an endless array, like millions of combinations, like billions of combinations, really. And we can build out any number of those, either to be on the DMsGuild or to just build out something cool on my Patreon and just feed that to people that contribute. So we'll figure out what the best way is going to be for me to move forward. But all this stuff is so modular. Like a beholder with powers is just fucking terrifying. It's so fun. And they don't have mana. They have frequency of use, either at will, once per encounter, once per round. And you generally don't work beyond per encounter, because generally monsters don't last more than an encounter. And if they survive, if you ever fight them again, they'll have another encounter. So that energy cascades well. But that's it for now. I'm going to go ahead and end stream. It's past noon, so I got to bounce. Thanks a lot to everyone that's checking this out. If you're seeing it in the future, I'm going to be back doing this again on Monday at lunch. Monday night. We'll be back Monday night. Doing more of this. I'll be back Monday morning to continue working on Eberron art. We're going to finish up the Yugoloth token, and then I think we're going to actually do we should have a chunk of the book layout complete for me to then start dropping in art and page dressing and stuff like that. We can just start fucking around with that next week, starting Tuesday. I think it's going to be so much fun. So much fun. I love that part of the process. And you'll see if you get involved in that, and check that out. Once this book gets done and play tested and back from an editor, we'll start doing layouts for this book as well. And you'll see that same process. I'm really starting to get into this horizontal page design because it fits on tablets so nicely, because you can just turn your tablet sideways like this. And if we make it 3 columns, each one of these columns basically, it's like, yeah, here, I'll show you the Eberron document before we go. Just to show you where we're at right now, to give you an idea of where I'm thinking about going. I know the horizontal effect is far from common. I'm really determining if I want to do all my mana books that way or not, but I really like how you can format this. So we can break each column, like each one of these columns fits in the horizontal space. That fits on one face of a cell phone, right? And there's not a lot of text here, so it fits nicely. It also works on and when you turn it sideways like this, you can see the whole page at once, and it fits on a cell phone or a tablet, and the font is large enough that when you turn it sideways, you just look at one column. It's super easy to read. And on a tablet, you can read the whole page this way and see all the art at once as a single, like a frame of an image. So each one of these, like, 3-column page formats, like here's factions. We're looking at Emerald Claw, the Red Wolf Company, and the local villagers that are being affected by these different groups. And we can have an image for the Emerald Claw, image for the Red Wolf Company, they're mercenaries, and then an image for the local villagers, and that becomes a full page. Or if you just want to look at the information on the Emerald Claw alone, you turn it vertically, and it snaps in, and it just snaps to that page. So it's really easy for you to be able to build this out. So each column is a separate thought, and the images that go inside of it can either stay confined to one column or can spill across whatever space is available. Like here, when we're talking about the adventure background, we're talking about Aether Academy, we're talking about the cultists' plans with the stuff that they stole from the academy, and the goals of the artifact itself. So we could have a mural sort of spread across all 3 columns, or I could have an image of Aether Academy here. I can have an image of the cultists doing stuff, and then I can have an image of like the artifact's evil plans, or I can do like a halvesy and then blendy. I can use that space in whatever artistic way that I want, Because if you're looking at the artwork, you're probably going to look at the full panel. If you're just looking at text, you probably don't, you're not really focusing on the artwork per se. But once you get into the thick of the adventure, down into here, you can see we have one column. Like, where'd it go? Damn it! Gimme, I'm supposed to be leaving. Give me a chance. Hold on. Here we go. There. If we zoom in, you can see like this map is occupying 2 columns, and we'll have we're still figuring it out, but we'll have like the map key and then like all the symbols and stuff, what they mean down in this margin space. While these larger square maps here, like you can easily zoom in on these and see all the detail that you need on the map. Like that's a 5-foot square there. That's plenty for you to be able to suss out. You can zoom in more if you want to, just zoom in if you need, but you can look at all of it in a glance and see what it is. And these are all the assets that we've been building in stream in the morning to drop into the book, to drop into the zip file, so that you have all of these assets that we're creating and showing you. These are the actual assets of the adventure that you use to make the adventure work. So while you're working through the adventure, that's obvious. I mean, that's obvious, right? But that's how I can use a lot of the art we've already created to integrate into the actual material of the book as a presentation. So like as we're going through the different areas in the town, we can introduce you to like Orbelt, the sheriff in this area. And the mayor, when you get down to the mayor's room, we can have an image of the mayor. So it just feeds into these little gaps that we have. But starting on Monday, if everything goes smoothly today, starting on Monday, I'll have the front end of this book, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we'll have the first 7 of 100 pages completed. And then as we work on the artwork for this for the like next 2 weeks, then we'll get Act 1 completed off screen, so then we can then come back on screen with all the tokens done. We can start filling in the artwork for this. And there's 3 parts: the intro, and then there's 3 appendices. So we can go through, as we finish one section, we can start working on the rest of the book and start feeding in the art in the first section. So intro, part 1, 2, 3, appendix 1, 2, 3. That's a total of 8 segments in the whole book that we need to complete. And once we get to that point, we'll be working on the artwork as we're building through the whole adventure, and it'll all come together. And once that's all done, we fuse it up, build the zip file, drop it on DMsGuild. That project goes away, and then this project slides forward into our morning design stream. We'll start building out this book, because by the time that one's done, this one should be coming back from editor, and we can start doing layouts, the book cover, and start doing all the spot art that we know we're going to need. So that's the process. As we finish one book, it drops off, and then we move forward. Mornings I do artwork, afternoons and nights I do design work. Saturday I just do whatever I want. So I've got all the design work. So when the Eberron book finishes and slides out of the way, these color mana books slide forward, and then my design stream becomes like Bastions maybe, or more Spelljammer stuff. Who knows? Whatever slides into place next. But that's the process. So if you think this stuff is cool, like, subscribe, join me on Discord, the playtest this stuff, support me by buying books or Patreon. And I'll see you guys on Monday. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for hanging out, guys. It's been a hell of a lot of fun today. This was fantastic. All right, I'm out of here. Later, guys.